Hey,
Well, hey there.
see, stick on the attendee list. Jeremy Myers. Ugh. Mhm. Thank you for raising your hand.
I know, I was gonna say that's very polite.
I'm stoked. I'm watching people roll in. It's our first office hours in 3 years, I want to say. I'm glad to be bringing this back. I tried it once before and I didn't know what was up. What's up, Wade? How's it going?
Wait, Wade. Yeah, I'm recognizing a lot of these names too.
That's nice.
And a lot of new names.
Like, all right. So I was waiting to bust this out. I was waiting because, I got a new place. Lots happened in my personal life. A lot of stuff's happened. And
Alice.
I gotta say, you hit a sore spot for me because, I used to previously, for lore's sake, and this is recorded, I used to get in a lot of trouble for swords because I used to have a wide range of swords. Now, however, I have gone back to not having a wide range of swords, but I got a sword anyway, baby. Look at that. It's still hanging strong. For
We
pos for professionalism, I'm keeping it off. But don't worry, I got that sword. I got lightsabers. I got a lot of swords.
we definitely had a discussion about the sword before this
Whether
started.
it should or shouldn't have the sword in the background. It's back. It never left. All right. Any more sword talking, I will be fired. So let's stick that back on. You know, there's a sword right here.
Yeah, it's there.
This is it.
You have to
But
speak proper languge to reveal it, right?
I'm not going to answer Jeremy's question because that's a little rude to start off the call, but that's fine. He's asking why we're so cool. I appreciate that. And he definitely doesn't work here. All right, I'm going to share my screen. I want to talk about, let's get rolling because I don't want to actually make this a joke the entire time. I want to talk about what office hours is, and I want to thank everybody for joining us because we haven't done one of these in a while, but this stuff is super important to us. In general, one of the reasons that I'm doing this, and obviously, as I'll introduce my friend here, is because we've heard a lot of people that just want to know more about what we're doing, what we're not doing, how things are shaping up. And I think that the best way is just keeping it casual. I've always preferred the webinar format, just chit chatting, and I like back and forth. And I think that that's the fastest way to get feedback. And tell your homies, tell people that you don't like, tell anybody, because on this office hours, I'm going to talk about stuff that is not necessarily set in stone. I want to be a little bit more, as cheesy as it is, like vulnerable, and just talk about stuff we've worked, stuff that's been working well, stuff that's not worked well, and just, try to be more transparent with our operations in general. As you can see on screen, I'm Ricky Cecchini. I'm the VP of product. I've been here since the very start. Was the first employee, but the second employee is with me right now, and that's Evan Griffith, and he is a product manager here at CloudRadial, and he works on a lot of the stuff, prioritizes features, and shoots down bugs and stuff with me. So we're happy to do our first office hours in a while. It's going to be a monthly series. It's going to be something that we do again month over month. We're trying to build the format. We have an idea of what it wants to be, what we think it should be, but part of this thing is the feedback that you guys get. So as we talk about stuff that's less sword related and more work related, keep it in mind, spit it out, say that's no good, that's pretty good, and we'll go from there. So that can be re-summarized here. Again, specifically office hours is a focus place to learn about what we're doing. A lot of it's going to be on your thoughts too. So the goal is to kind of grow this organically. Just let this be a good conversation that you're not having to hyper focus on. Maybe you put it on the background while you work, because a lot of the stuff that we're doing has been derived from what we get from conversations at shows, right? A lot of people want to know what their peers are doing. That may have nothing to do with CloudRadial. It's just like, what risk software, are you doing any kind of compliance software, or how's your CSAT going? Are you getting good CSAT? So anything that kind of relates to the industry as a whole, obviously customer experience, how that ties into the customer, what you're struggling with, what you're doing well with, fair game. You don't necessarily even have to talk to me. It can be amongst yourselves. It's obviously a place to make sure that we still work here and see our faces. That's important. And then, yeah. And if anything comes from this call, again, because this isn't, I'm selling you anything webinar, I'm not trying to do anything of that nature. If anything comes up that you need support or some double check or whatever, throw it in the chat, throw it in the Q&A, and we'll hook you up. If we can't fix it and talk about it here and now, a lot of times our own team members from CloudRadial will join these webinars. So we'll have people that can assist. And I also know that we're figuring out our time schedule. I've gotten some comments back. Obviously, some poor Australians aren't waking up at 3 a.m. to do this. And same thing for my Brits who don't feel like putting down their dinner with their family to go watch CloudRadial office hours. we'll see about the time. We'll see if we can play something out and then make this more available too. So if you're watching the recording of this, you're still fair game. As we'll see in a little bit, we're going to cover some actual topics that are, again, I hope pretty important and pretty interesting to you guys. If something else comes up that requires feedback, we're going to be doing some polls directly within Zoom itself, which will be good because then we can get instant feedback. Those polls will also be replicated in some of the in-app announcements. So watch for those in the CloudRadial app itself. You'll get a chance to answer. So again, if you're not currently attending, you're watching this, you're not screwed, right? It's okay if you weren't here. So one of the first things that I want to make a standby point in the office hours is talking about the product update. The product update is something that, I do monthly. It's derived kind of exactly how you'd expect. It's just a mishmash of all the stuff that we're working on product-wise, what CloudRadial is kind of up to, and we send it out in-app, we send it out via email and everything. But again, because this is informal, I'm not really sticking to a PowerPoint more than this type of slide. I want to just talk through it. This is something that I don't think has even gone out yet, but I want to talk about something really big that's happened for us. And that is this. So CloudRadial, as of really, let's say 2 months, but now we're kind of officially doing it, has become from a one company to a 3 company. So we're multi-product, which is cool. And I feel like that's something that we should talk about because it's a big change, it's a big strategy change. And like, obviously any partner, prospect, whoever is going to have questions about like, why'd you do it? How does that affect pricing? Where are you going? Where are you not going? And all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and read necessarily the whole article. I will say this is on our blog. So this is literally blog.cloudradial.com, our new products announcement. But the gist is that we're kind of working really closely with one company and we outright purchased another. So even though we're multi-product, the way that it really works is we have acquired chatstyle.ai, which is, I hate calling it a chat company because it's really not, but we're going to call it a chat company for simplicity's sake, because that's been one of the biggest things people have asked us forever. Chat is kind of synonymous with client, right? Because it's availability, it's a good experience. We've always really struggled to make chat something that wasn't just kind of a checkbox. And what I mean by that is that like, do we have the potential, right? Can we develop something that just says start a chat with so-and-so user and then they go back and forth? Yeah, right. It's like, but you got a million of those. And really, when we ask MSPs, we've talked about this for years, what they wanted. It wasn't necessarily just click on a thing and start a chat. It was like, hey, let's go open a ticket, certainly talk to the PSA, right? Help that process along. But even then, GPT came out, right? You've got Copilot, you've got all the different AI measures, and we were kind of like, we were hoping for that. So Chat Style came along, and I'll give them a plug. We're still in the transition of getting all their stuff over to us, so it's kind of funny. I mean, again, this is already ours. Everything's, dotted T's, crossed I's, all the good stuff. And then for the most part, done deal. But again, you'll see a lot of chat style branding all over the place, but this is, again, getting transitioned slowly but surely, CloudRadial company. But what's really cool about this is that, again, it fits our customers' need for chat. It makes it really interesting because this hooks up to your PSA, and it's kind of what we talk about as omni-channel presence. So the idea is that, like, we've been big believers of making the client experience easy, and most people that have used CloudRadial struggle with getting adoption. And the reason for that, aside from setup and all the other stuff, is that like any piece of software, any tech that you put in front of users has to be intuitive is a good one, but also just not out of their way. People are not typically, I've said this forever, people don't like varying how they do things. So putting something in the way of people where they already exist, already live, is really important. And this type of chat's really nice, right? Because it's like, we're not talking about having to log into, chat.yourportal.com to get to it. It goes on the web, it goes in their Teams, it goes in their Slack, they can text stuff in, and that all works out. So the thought process for CloudRadial was that, like, do we want to chat? We totally want to chat, but we want a chat that makes the user experience better, not adds another barrier to entry or just kind of adds another lame thing here and there. So Chat Style is working on some really cool stuff. In no way does this mean that we're stopping or nixing any other chat that you have. Obviously, there's plenty of other chats on the market. Thread does a great job. We're still great partners with Thread that you can plug in and still get authentication and stuff. But we really wanted something that we could drive the development of. Our big idea here, and this is stuff that you're not going to find yet, this is office hours exclusive from the product brain, is that chat by itself is not inherently super useful because it's based on how much knowledge is around it. Right now, if you have a technician going in there and talking back and forth and they're knowledgeable, that's pretty good. But if that technician's taking a break or whatever have you, then you're not able to really kind of get in there and answer the person's questions very well. So the AI component helps that. The AI component bridges the gap where you're not having to wait on someone to answer questions. They get there, but then you've also then got the pitfall of like, you can't do all AI because then it feels too wooden. And then you're like, speak to a real person. You can't do all person because people need to take breaks. And most teams that we've talked to, they aren't big enough to handle 24/7 chat. So it doesn't necessarily warrant somebody sitting on the kind of like the knock or sock waiting for chats to come in. So this is a great hybrid. But even more than that, again, our bigger thought was chats are only as good as the access they have to the resources. So what I mean by that is if they're talking to a skilled tech, you got a skilled tech. If the AI knows a general piece of knowledge, it knows. And we'll talk about that. I've showed if people are interested, but the idea is that like, if I say I have an issue with my iPhone, it's pretty public knowledge. I can pull iPhone fixing articles, no problem. If I say I have an issue and I can't find my HR handbook for my company, Chat GPT is not going to help you, right? There's a lot of stuff like that that's not accessible to these levels of AI that a human might know, but again, chat might not. So the goal here was for us to take an AI chat, take the portal, which part of the announcement is we've renamed our core, client portal that we've just called CloudRadial. It's called CloudRadial Classic and a CloudRadial CSA, and marry those two together, because then what we can do is we can give the AI a better brain. So think about all the stuff. If you're CloudRadial customers and you've put a bunch of work into CloudRadial, it would be really sweet that when someone chats you up and it goes like, I need help with my printer. Okay, maybe there's generic stuff that can help there, but then maybe there's stuff that you're like, look, you've got 4 articles on that, or maybe you've got, a form that's specific to this, and like we want to maybe serve that up because we know that that's going to give you better entry, better details. So the long game for us is to take those two things and marry them and basically have the CSA be the brain, right? In addition to the global internet, be the brain of your chat, helping you put IP behind there. And then obviously for the portal's sake, to make availability better, to make that experience sweeter, the AI being a UI is really cool. So we're nowhere near that as far as like, full tie-ins, but we're really, really, really happy with chat style. I think it's a super promising product. I think we're going to grow it tremendously. And again, it's a great idea. And again, the feedback that we've gotten from people has been terrific. And right now, product and marketing at CloudRadial are working to get demos up, get use cases, really show the power. Again, the purpose of office hours is not for me to sling product and talk about stuff all day, every day. But it's cool. I mean, it really is something that I think when we've shown people what it can do, having the ability to just start those chats and get in there is really neat. And that stuff has saved already a lot of people time that use chat style. We've migrated their existing customers and their CloudRadial customers now. So it's worth it. And one more piece on this, and then I'll stop, because I talked about this at some of the shows, and some people have asked if it's free, if it's gonna be included, if it's a paid extra. It's a completely separate thing, and we had to do that. And some people have asked us what the strategy was, that we charge separate price and everything for it. The reason that we're doing that for our chat product is because, again, A, we have lofty goals for the future of it, so it's not necessarily like something we rolled in ourselves, and B, we had to buy the company to do it. So just from a business sense, frankly, it was like we have to recoup somehow. Now, luckily, chat style's like hyper aggressively priced in the first place, so it's not like this is out of the realm of possibility things. And the gist is as we look at the chat pricing, essentially the further you go up, the more expensive it is, because it's more AI calls, and that's pretty fair to us. I mean, I think if you look at these conversations, the basic one that you get with our basic starter does what most people want in a chat, which is, I think, something that people have been experimenting for a long time, where it just says, I have a printer issue. Let me ask 2 or 3 questions, kind of get the ballpark, and then send that off as a ticket. That's the basic. As we go on and we develop this and the AI models get smarter and smarter and smarter, the goal is to, again, have this chat functionally be able to compete, right, with the intelligence of a brand new tier 1 tech person. So it's like a lot of that stuff can be done all the way down to the top level, which is like custom development. When you ask it to do stuff, it invokes commands and stuff. So it's like the chat is really, really custom. But that's an avenue that we've never had at CloudRadial, so I'm really excited for that. And that's the gist, and that's chat style. So that's really important. So we'll talk a lot about that. You'll see that in our marketing quite a bit. The other one is DNS. We launched that one first, and that one got a lot of questions from people because they were confused. It's like, why the DNS thing? What's that have to do with the client portal? And like, where's that going? And we did not purchase the company that provides the DNS service for us. That is a completely separate company still. We're just very tightly partnered with them. Scout DNS is local here in Dallas, which is where CloudRadial is based as well. And the idea was that we kind of believe we're seeing that DNS is kind of a commodity in the sense that like it's kind of a given. Like the DNS security, the filtering, the showing websites, all that stuff is fine. And we thought that, again, as far as client engagement, client maturity, client interest, the portal's obviously pretty sensible. It's where they log in. The chat's pretty sensible. It's where they have that interaction back and forth. The DNS stuff is another layer that probably could just be offloaded, because I think it's a lot of controlling the business's internet. It's not to say that it's a self-controlled thing that you hand the DNS service off to, you know, Sally at the office. She takes care of all of that. But a lot of the simple stuff that they can do, we thought that would make sense for us to partner together. So whitelisting websites, blocking websites, tracking user activity, all that kind of stuff that, you know, end users, points of contacts and stuff want to do can be possible. And obviously you can tweak that stuff, but that was the same logic, right? We're not after this giant expansion that we want to pick up every product or whatever. I've had some questions going like, are you trying to build like a portfolio? Like, we're not quite doing what PSAs are doing, where they go buy and they buy one of everything and they try to build like a big stack. We're just trying to figure out what makes the most sense for a client kind of suite. So as long as it relates to the client, as long as it makes your life easier, both for management of these accounts and both for the interaction, it's fitting our wheelhouse. We're going in the direction where we really want to be the tipping point of client communication. So any tool out there that has a client component that, again, adds one more deviation, one more point of fatigue for clients to have to go to that, we want to bring it in-house to try to make CloudRadial the end-all be-all. And again, we're not planning on gating off any other solutions that do these things. Like you saw with chat, it's not like we're shutting off all other chats except for our own, but that's the gist. It's like we want to be able to have something that we control the development life cycle of, because that way we can make it as cool or, you know, as much of a failure as we want, and we can't blame other people for it. So that's basically it. And that's the gist of the new add-ons to us. So again, a lot more details in here as far as like what's coming, what's, you know, where we're going with it. And then the other big things that I want to cover on our product update, just to keep it simple, is automations. So we launched automations a while ago. We talked about it for a bit and kind of fell off, not necessarily for any reason other than we learned this lesson before, and shame on me for not repeating it. It doesn't matter what you develop. It doesn't matter if it's something super cool, super useful, super interesting. If there's no examples and if there's no use cases and you can't give, you know, can't use it in a sentence, it doesn't really work. So we're not even announcing this right now. This is like let's call it an office hour sneak preview, but we've worked really hard to build a bunch of use cases for automations to build a public library. So a lot of the automation stuff we talked about, like what can you do with a CloudRadial automation? If you're not familiar, again, I invite you to go, especially on our YouTube and stuff. There's lots of stuff on automations. The concept is that we can trigger a bunch of workflows. So again, not in a demo-y format. Let me see if I can find there we go. Not in a demo-y format, right? But we have this handy dandy automations builder where you can do what you want, right? Workflow wise, it's like opportunity creation, email creation, webhooks, and then we're adding shortly the ability to have some RMM commands in there. Building these up, putting these out in front of clients can be massively helpful, because that's the concept of self-service we championed for a long time. Dropping these inside of forms, making sure that, you know, when we look at this one, for example, adding a user to a group, what does that actually do? We've got a webhook that, you know, you stick this inside of a form, a user clicks that form, they don't even know they're triggering this, but when you make a user form going add, you know, so-and-so to a group, it does that thing, right? And that sounds good when I say it, but because I'm not very technical and neither is Evan, when we say that, we go like, it's possible. But I found out that it's possible does not mean that people know how to do it. They go, show me. So that what we're talking about now, this kind of resurgence of our automations, is we've taken a break and we've, again, built a repository. So the GitHub's out there for a bunch of stuff that we, you know, built as samples. And the goal is that as we introduce this and talk about it, office hours is part of this, but I want to get better about taking specific partners that are knocking it out of the park and featuring them, showing their stuff. So this is just what we've done, but I know if you've talked to, you know, even a quarter of the MSPs that attend these calls, they're smarter, right? They know a bunch of more stuff. It's the day-to-day. So you guys know perfectly well what you can and can't do. And that's also one of the biggest things that I've encountered. When I go to these shows and I meet people, one of the biggest bits of feedback that I get is that I think CloudRadial partners are very siloed against one another. which is fine from a security perspective, but a lot of partners have, for lack of a better term, insecurity. So they're not sure if what they're doing is right, and they really want to be able to peek at their neighbor and go like, are your onboarding form, is this what yours look like? Or is like, who knows? So part of this is to break that down. Obviously, automations is about breaking down that barrier. Again, as we will see in a minute with our polls that we have, I want to get better about asking you guys what you're interested in, finding out who the best is. We have better tracking in our software than we've ever had as far as what features get used, what features don't get used, and who the power users are. So I also know how many end users cycle through and who's happy and who's not. We'll be able to say and ask specifically going like, hey, Evan, you're really great at building these forms. Do you want to come on and talk about the process and stuff? So I think that'll be cool because I think our community should probably get to know each other better than just on, a static forum. So that's this. So a lot of that automations thing isn't just for automations. It's about building better community. And I think that's something we're really interested in, especially for this year and beyond. And then obviously Jeff saying thank you for sticking with us because we've done this for a very, very long time. Okay. I think that's the gist of the product update. Now, when I typically send out the actual product update, I have like bug fixes and I have like minor updates or major updates or whatever. But for the most part of the plan of office hours is to talk about these. And if any questions come up, if anybody has input or whatever, share it, no problem, right? It's like I can always change the format up or talk about different stuff. But I want this to be a standby so we have a free-flowing conversation behind logic. You can't really ask somebody why they thought something just behind some teams. All right, so let's go to our next thing. So part of office hours, besides the product update, and again, any point ask questions, is projects. This is a big one for us. So projects has been something that people have asked us literally since we started. And that was something that we've wanted to do for the longest time. And frankly, I don't think we just ever got to it. There's no really excuse. I'll take a timeout for Craig too. It's like, the answer is yeah. I know it's specifically the question was for us panelists. If anyone is struggling and we have issues, getting stuff set up and you want it, but you can't, you have more money than time, we have professional services. We can help you get set up. And again, ask whatever questions. I may not read all of them out loud because of it, but we do. So it's like, if you need help in any capacity, knowledge, training, just somebody to talk to for 30 minutes, ask a bunch of questions, we'll find you. So just good stuff. Craig, just keep dumping it in there. Anyways, so projects. People asked us for this for a while. The top feature, we have a feature request board, has been this for a long time, and we're close. We've been working on this for a little bit. I'm going to give you a quick demo. So a nice part of these office hours is sneak previews. And why I put ConnectWise and Autotask on there is because those are the ones that are working for right now. The plan is to make every supported PSA work. And by that, I really mean BMS and Halo. Sorry, SyncBro, you guys don't have projects modules, so there's technically nothing to do. But I want to talk about it. And for those that showed up for the call, I will also give you an opt-in list to actually try it out for yourselves if you were so interested after. So let's take a look at that too. And again, month over month for office hours, I'll do a topic. Sometimes I'll decide it. Sometimes you guys will decide it. Again, I'm hoping as it gets more popular, we get to cover what people's burning questions are. So if we go back to that tenant I had, projects is going to be a very simple poll, at least it looks simple. And what we're really doing is we're kind of mirroring what we do in our support tickets. So if you've used CloudRadial before, a lot of people start off with their usage with support tickets. They kind of have this view, right? They know back and forth, they can get information back and forth. And the PSAs often do something very similar with projects, right? There's the concept of tickets tied to projects. There's overall projects board. And the requirement that we read from most people is some kind of a grid like this, so they can see their stuff. So what we've done is we went into our settings, and part of the additional step when you set something up, right, in the PSA, there's going to be a new section for project settings. You can see it here. We're very much like the ticket area. We're going to be allowing certain boards, right? So it's like, and again, this one's hooked up to ConnectWise, but more or less same functionality across everything. Hooking it up, allowing the boards to show up so you can choose, obviously not every single thing, kind of your standard fare of like exclusions of project statuses, exclusions of types, and even some project tickets in certain statuses. So kind of a given, right? You may not want to show stuff that's pending, or you have crappy comments, or somebody wants to say something in there that may be unprofessional. So you're going to hide the status clarify with idiot. I've seen that happen in real life. Fun. And yeah, so once you do that, what's going to happen is under account and projects, hey, brand new tab. You're going to get that going. Now, This has technically been a thing we've done before, and it's kind of a strange thing. Traditionally, I'll say before I show this, CloudRadial's model is nearly always we build something ourselves. So let's say our CSAT, we have our feedback right here, or, we have built-in smileys and everything there. But for the most part, the idea is that we build it. And then if you have a better tool or something comes out that's more competitive, so we don't bottleneck you and you're waiting for us to develop best in breed, whatever, because we can't develop best of everything. You can plug in a better tool or whatever. We did this one in reverse. So if you're feeling like you have deja vu, maybe it's because projects technically has been out for a while. We integrated with Top Left first, and Top Left is a project management display view. But the feedback that we got from that was like, that's fine and that's well and good, but like there is a gap between native functionality and third-party functionality, right? We have third-party and no native, when in reality, this is our wheelhouse. So we went back and fixed that. That's this. So Top Left will still give you a nicer view, but this is gonna take care of stuff. Were you saying something, Evan? Sorry.
No, I didn't say anything.
I know. That's what I was saying. I was like, you're fine. All right, so let's take a look at it. So very, kind of a simple view as far as like you kind of understand immediately what's going on. It looks like tickets. It's a little bit different because again, where tickets are available to, we intended every user. This is buried further down in the feature set where only the admins or higher level permission people should get it. So what we're seeing here is obviously the project name, the status of it, and some of the details. And when we click on a project, what we're going to get is the high level, because again, intended for clients to get the gist. So what we're seeing is the latest ticket tied to it, so they can jump to that. We'll look at that in a sec. Any description that you have written, and again, kind of some basic fields coming from the PSA directly. So if we're looking for just a simple way to keep them up to date on stuff in their portal, this is going to do it. And when I click on the project ticket, what's going to happen, watch both back here and also here. So I click it, it's going to snap me over to the ticket, just like a support ticket, looks just like it, right? But the difference is we're still down here further deep in CloudRadial's feature set. And what you're seeing is all the tickets, all the project tickets. So the first project blade is just showing you the latest tickets. So again, a client doesn't need to see every billionth ticket. And then over here, if they do want to dive into more stuff, they can totally see that just fine. So as we click on a lot of these different ones that we've been working on, just like the tickets that we saw up top, they can respond, they can attach files, they can have an interaction if they need to. And again, it's a little bit different. So you're going to notice that there's not a CSAT on this one. Some of these things are deliberate, right? At least we wanted to get the bare functionality out there. And it works clean, it works slick, and it works for currently ConnectWise and Autotask. And again, the other PSAs are coming soon. The longer gameplay, this is again a benefit of office hours, as I get to talk about my dreams. The longer gameplay is not just to have projects view, because I think that's cool. And that checks the box off for a lot of MSPs that want to do this. The bigger problem that I've seen with MSPs is how do I show this in a way that builds a story and isn't just a grid, right? Which this is just a grid of information. And the story that we've always wanted to tell, or we've wanted to put a lot of development timeline into, is the planner. And our planner right now is very simple still, right? It's this 4-quarter drag and drop board or whatever. Spoiler alert, we've been working on it, but we're the closest we've ever been to our new version of our planner, which is going to, at least the first version that I'm allowed to talk about, is multi-year in any direction, as long as you want it. And that's been something people have been asking for the longest time. Much like chat, we didn't want to ship out something that was lame, and we kept having lame ideas, and we knew them that we're just going to be like, well, you could add this, just one thing, whatever, but we wanted a big thing. So part of the future of CloudRadial is taking this projects module that we built out and giving you the option potentially to drop those projects in a visualized way on the board here. So tying that back and forth. So that way you can let CloudRadial be your visualization of your PSA projects in a way that clients understand, they can get to it, it's always accurate, and you don't have to do double work. So a lot of our benefit here is that we're trying to derive as much information as possible out of that PSA, so you're not having to log some stuff in here, it's out of sync over there, whatever. It's like we want to be as read-only as possible for a lot of these things. And again, projects is that, right? We're pulling that in, you're managing it yourself. I asked, I want to say it was a month ago or so, I let out a poll to everybody asking them how they manage projects. And shocker, actually huge shocker for me, 85% of the 160 MSPs I asked use PSA projects, and the remaining ones either didn't manage projects because they just don't do project management for their MSP or for their clients, or they use third-party ones, and the third-party ones were so scattered. It was like some Trello, some Microsoft projects, some Asana, some Basecamp, you name it. So for us, again, roadmap of CloudRadial of what we're developing for you guys, we said, okay, it has to be easy, it has to be pullable from the PSA, and it has to be something that starts to kind of be sexy, starts to be usable for clients. So that's the nature of this project beast. As a result, I will ask Evan maybe to release our first poll, which is not much of a poll. It's more just like you want in on this. And if you want to get in and just check it out for yourself, let us know. We'll throw that on, easy peasy, right? We have a lot of flags to test it out. Again, this is calling it beta would be generous. It seems to run very stably, but I want you guys to give us feedback, see if it's enough. And then obviously, as we plan to iterate on it and make more and more changes, let us know.
Just to add too, for now, it's pretty much ConnectWise is ready today. We should be able to, once we get the list, let you have access to that. And AutoTask is coming right up. I'm not sure if it's going to be this week or next.
Yeah.
But don't hold us to that. But yeah, so if you have ConnectWise and you want in, we're going to be able to turn it on for you later this afternoon.
Yeah, that was the goal, actually. We wanted to turn it on for a couple people. And again, if you're watching this recording going, damn it, I've asked for this forever, because there's a lot of people that have. Don't worry, I'm going to follow up after this this call, this Zoom meeting, and then I'm going to throw a thing in Beamer, which is our in-app notification system, just asking people if they want in. So if you missed your shot here, let us know. We'll be watching that for a while, and then hopefully sooner than later, I would estimate probably no more than maybe a month, 2 months at the very, very most, it'll be on for everybody. So it's not like you're missing out for too long, especially because people have asked us for this for years. I feel like a month is pretty good. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I'm reading the chats now. I was reading Rebecca's, and yeah, the projects is a fun one. It's like just getting people to use it is always interesting. And like that was another question again when we did the polls about who uses what in the PSA, is like I had my doubts because I've heard from a lot of people, even though the results spoke for themselves, people do use the PSA for project management. It's always so strange because if you've used let's say a third party modern project management tool, it's like they're way nicer. They're way nicer. They're way prettier. They're way more intuitive, all the stuff. I mean, we use Monday internally for a lot of our own stuff because we obviously don't operate as a PSA with a PSA as a software company. But yeah, I think ConnectWise, at least based on IT Nation last year, they're putting a bunch of work into trying to make it better. So I empathize with like looking at it, figuring it out. It's very robust. Same thing for Autotask and the same thing for BMS. These are all really advanced project management things. It's just they get crazy in depth, which actually, I know we're running that poll. Can we run the next one, Evan? I needed a little bit of vulnerability on this one too. There is a not new, but like a problem that we've had that I, again, typically don't ask partners. I try to figure it out myself with Autotask, where I just want to make sure that the billing is right when you assign stuff to a project. So you can see that I'm sharing my screen right now, and it has hours billed 0. This is ConnectWise. The ConnectWise relationship is really easy. Struggling a little bit with Autotask, and rather than us spending a bunch of development time trying to figure out how to bill to a project, which has been driving me crazy. If anyone on the call uses Autotask, or you know anyone that does, that I could borrow for like a couple seconds to get an idea, love to test that. I'm trying to make sure that Autotask and really all PSAs have parity. I mean, I want them to be as good from one to the other, because the other thought process for me to you guys is that when we ship these things, right, the strategy of CloudRadial is to try to be agnostic, which means that if you do want to swap to another PSA and you want to keep CloudRadial, I don't want you to have to be like, well, I can't because I'm going to lose the functionality. So I'm trying to make sure that that stuff's real good.
I think we got one. We got.
If Bill just said he's going to save my butt, I'll take Bill. Like, no doubt, no problem. So yeah, I just needed a 1, 2, maybe a couple more people if I really wanted to be thorough. But for the most part, just show me how to use Autotask a little bit. That'll be great. And then I skipped over a question I want to go back and ask Michelle specifically. Projects in the portal, for sure. I can absolutely do that. And then the SOC 2 certification, that was another one that actually Evan and I mentioned before the call about like what's upcoming for us. Security has been a thing that we've been, not obviously security is important, but like the SOC 2 stuff has been a weird question for us for a long time because we wanted to do it. And then it was like prohibitively expensive for the longest time because we didn't have enough customers to warrant it. And then frankly, I'm sure everybody who operates a business can empathize. We were like, are we losing enough business to warrant, not to warrant, going to get the SOC 2? It's like, at what point did those scales tip? Well, they tipped a while ago for us, right? Because we've been growing, we've been doing pretty well in the MSP community, which is great. And we've been working on it. So it's like, we've already gone through, we're starting our SOC 2 journey. I don't know, because our finance manager slash CFO is working on that, and he's working with a firm to get that stuff done. So we're hoping, I don't know, realistically, I would guess probably another 6 months or so, but we're underway. Whereas before we've been like, we want to, but it's like, we're going to do SOC 2 because that's been kind of a requirement for us. We're just going through and shoring everything up and make sure we're all good. So that's hopefully soon. Okay, so let's talk about the next piece, I think, that I wanted to discuss. So again, I had this concept for office hours for a long time, and I knew that I wasn't necessarily going to bombard it. So the polls, we already answered 2 of them. Surveys, like I said, they will follow for those that missed it. So anyone who wants to opt in will do it. And part of the plan for office hours is interesting, you guys in the chat talking about it right now, is what should we cover? Because this one we knew was going to be kind of a shorter one because, again, I made it up. I summoned you guys. Thank you for coming. But I really want you guys to tell me what to cover. So can we launch the final poll for today, Evan, please? Thank you. What this is for is not necessarily 100% what we're going to do, but like if you have stuff that you want to cover, like what is the most you want to cover, let us know. There's 2 questions here. There's some generic ones that I just threw up there, like let's talk about it. And if there's something completely different, that's ethereal, right? It doesn't have to be like, I need to know how to do forms. It's like, I need to know how to onboard better. I need to know how to use CloudRadial for prospecting. I need to know whatever. Let's talk about it. And this is going to help me tremendously because this is where I'll go back. I'll go do the research and the stuff that obviously you guys can't do, which is who is the top course creator? How did you get so many good courses? What's the best practices there? Talk about what we see, talk about how they've used it, bring them on the call with any luck. And then just have this be cool. Just have this be a nice, just chit chat, casual thing. So answer that. Again, that will also go out in the poll that we do in app. So anybody who joins in the future will be able to get their 2 cents of what we want to talk about. And then we're going to structure this stuff based on those conversations. So again, being the full vulnerability that I like to do, I'm going to show the final slide that I had while those questions get answered. And it was next month is automations. Now this one and next month were the only 2 ones that I picked topics for. And to prove that I'm not full of it, I will pull up my slide that I was talking about with Evan right before. I had a little summary of intent that I handed to marketing that we can go through if we really care about. But the idea was this. It's like I had a tentative date that I'm also stealing the idea from Synchro because they did it really well. And the idea was that I have more or less this monthly beat that the topic is driven by you guys. So I don't have a plan other than like product update, new stuff that's cool, and getting into things, just whatever fancies the market fancies, and then questions that we have is a great way to engage for me. So please take part of it. It'll help it get better. It'll help your friends use CloudRadial more, and then people just talk more. That'd be great.
Well, it looks like we might be doing the right thing so far. We'll see what the surveys give us afterwards, but
automations was one that was near and dear to me because again, it's like, it's one thing to drop a feature, and then it's another thing to be like, well, do you know how to use that? And the answer is like, well, no, but I want to. Again, when we did the automations poll, what people told us, and I'll stop sharing so you can see our faces for a little bit. What people told us is that they wanted the examples. They wanted to see it working, and it's much more helpful. And to Bill's point, right? We talked via email before. It's like, this was, again, we had the closed registration, meaning that you had to sign in and all that other stuff. Still playing with that. I think that, based on his comments, actually, I went back to marketing and I told them, and I think we may make this open because again, it's like, this is really informal. This is something that we just want people to be able to pop in and say what's up, get their thoughts, get an idea. So next time, maybe even easier, like literally in and out, I paid attention, didn't pay attention. There was a cool part in it, and move on. So I think, where's that at? The poll's done, still going? If you didn't answer,
we got 20 people, but I'll go ahead and end it.
Yeah. And again, no big deal. If you missed it, if you don't have anything right now, just show up. for the next one or answer the question. Well, you can double up your answers and cheat because I'm not super official on it on the in-app poll. And I think that's good for our first office hours, just to say hello. If anyone has stuff, again, now's your time. I got 20 minutes of open QA time. If I see that it's dying, no big deal. Everyone gets their 20 minutes back, and then we'll see you for the next one as we restructure this and keep going. Now is the awkward part where I silently go like this, and I wait for the bubbles. Turn off my background. See. Also, here's this. You want to be really? It's all about vulnerability today. Let's be really vulnerable. Evan doesn't even know what I'm about to do. He's scared. He's wondering. He's like, where am I going with this? I'll show you exactly where I'm going with this. This is a CloudRadial lore for those who want to know really more about me. So one of the first things that I did when I started CloudRadial is I broke my arm skateboarding, and I had to do a bunch of webinars with a cast in hand. And this is the skateboard that broke my arm. I'm a 31-year-old man. I have a skateboard with a wizard fighting a demon on it, and I broke my arm. A pop shove it.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
No, probably not. But this is part of CloudRadial history, because I remember being very embarrassed having to do webinars as a grown man with a slinged hand, and people said, what's your deal? And I go, I'm an idiot. That's my deal. Sorry. And that was it.
So we have a question from Kieran. We'll just answer live. We're just in the process of rolling CloudRadial out to clients. Do you have client documentation that we can use and send out?
We should definitely have that. In fact, I created a bunch of it, and some of that documentation includes some guides on like getting started with the portal that are fairly easy. They're pretty basic. There's stuff that like you can at least, throw your logo on, convert to PDF, but I can reach out to you and give you a library of what we got. It's not a tremendous amount of stuff, but we definitely have a lot of these things that pre-built, and some also maybe more important, some strategy behind them. That's not just like document dump like Microsoft likes to do, but for sure.
Yeah, and also if you're in the process of rolling it out, definitely reach out to your account manager, or if you're currently in an implementation, because they have all the tricks and all the tools as well to help you out.
Bill made a good point too. That's another one that we talked about. So we're part of IT Nations Evolve, which is like their peer groups that we just take part of, and like one of the things that came up there was sales, and just like using the portal, using the CSA right as a differentiator, because it's really sexy to be able to show your services and stuff. And like we know that, kind of like automations, we know that's good and right, but we also don't necessarily know how to do it, right? So it's like we think we know, right? We have ideas on how it's supposed to go, but we've had a couple of webinars where we talk about using it as a prospecting tool, and based off of the feedback that I've gotten from MSPs, it seems to have gone pretty well, because I know some of them have gone back and shown it. And I'm talking about stuff like how to stage the portal for a prospect, because you technically don't even need to hook up your PSA in Office or whatever. You can roll up and show them what the portal might look like with a bunch of sample content, manually add them in there and get them to play around with it and start forwarding reports. And that's the gist. And then having that ability to do that is typically pretty powerful, because again, when you're vying for someone, you're trying to get a contract and you want to show them what they're going to get, it's pretty cool to be like, here's our portal, you have a spot. If it becomes a thing, if we sign and you're good to go, we start supporting you, we'll add you all in there and you're good. And if you don't, you'll know what you're missing out on, because again, with anything else, I've said this a bunch of times too, it's a lot easier and sexier to sell something that they can see and touch than it is, MSA or whatever, like some kind of contract. So that's the extent of it. But yeah, that's an interesting one that I probably want to do anyways on sales and adoption. So kind of to both points, that'll be both good topics. Client branded login pages, yeah, those are always really sexy to show. Yeah, the client branding one is a really easy piece. That's like, even we played around with that for a while, where it's just like, how do you throw a like a logo on their page, and like even something like silly like that, you just 2 seconds before you go walk into a meeting, you just Google their website, go drag some PNG and stick it in there and go like, ta-da, custom client portal. They don't know, it took you 4.5 seconds. It's cool.
Yeah, and you're not really selling features, you're turning their conversation with you into a visual display that they can see.
Yeah,
So
I'll show that as well. I don't know who the anonymous attendee was, unless your name is anonymous attendee, which case super cool. But where I wanted to do that, it's going to be at least the same link. I have the same link pushed every time. If we can do that through Zoom, I'm going to look into that so you can perpetually sign in and roll with that forever. Yeah. It's like last name attendee, first name, it's like anonymous. And then there's the other one that's like public attendee. So I'm a big fan of your family.
are we going to Evolve Europe? Yeah, no, I don't think so.
We actually are going to DattoCon in Europe. We're going to the Dublin DattoCon, and that'll be cool. So I think if that goes well, meaning that we don't get chased out by pitchforks, I'd have no problem going to Europe. I'm actually not American. I'm European, so that's easy for me. It's like Evan knows this. I like to trick a lot of people. I'm an Italian citizen. Whoopsie daisy. I just speak English very well, but for the most part, people assume I'm American because I look like this. So
Like, yeah, like an American.
like an American man, which looks like anybody. What does that even mean? You look American.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
You should be able to brand your login already.
Yeah, but what Bill's saying is I think let me show well, let's talk about that. That's something. I'll show you what we got right now. Maybe you'll learn something, or maybe you'll tell me that we don't understand. One or the other. So for example, whenever they this is one of our demo portals that we use, our salespeople use to demo stuff up. You see that like this Phoenix group has a little branded thing. What we did was when you go into a company, each company has the potential to have their own branding override. So you set the branding up when you set your portal up, and that determines, the splash page or whatever. Branding, if you flip on this little custom branding and you can change their title bar, whatever, even what Bill's saying is possible. It's like their logo and their login page. So like down here, there's more stuff of like their custom domain, their portal login, blah, blah, blah. So I set all this up and I did some basic stuff. So the idea is that because I filled out a bunch of those settings and I click on this, it'll actually open their branded site and it'll look to their standards. Now, because I'm lazy, I stuck the same image, but has their image and their name and all that other stuff. Even though it's directing to the same exact portal, they don't know that. They think it's their own custom thing that you spent a bunch of money on, which is nice. But that's the kind of trick. Again, it kind of works both ways. That could be a branding thing, or it could be like branding being like you're treating your companies internally really nice, or it could be a sales tactic, right? Because it feels really flattering that if you have a prospect and like in 2 seconds, and I'll do this live on the air, although this merits its own thing. This theoretical company is not in my PSA. I have no access to them whatsoever. So I'm just going to make something up. So if I do Evans Bakery, right? Cool. I can set up feature sets. I can play with all these settings when I have the details. I don't. So I can literally just go in there, go boom, custom branding, boom. I want Evans Bakery to be steel themed with a top title bar that's black, whatever. This is where I would go find his logos or whatever, change his locale, change his email settings, change his thing. I'm going to do evansbakery.directportal.com. If you have enterprise CloudRadial, you can do it sexier. You can literally go in and do like portal.evansbakery.com already. But for right now, this is the free stuff that works just fine. And again, that's cool. So the moment I do that, the idea is that I've got his company created. And obviously, like the moment that this gets created, he's going to be able to log in. We can customize that experience. But even more so, when we get into that company now, it's populating the content. My Safari doesn't keep blocking my tabs. And theoretically, like, in 5-10 minutes, whenever this finishes up, like walk them through the account, show them what they can get, show them any reports. And that's the gist of the prospecting, is that being able to use CloudRadial as a free way, because it's not, you're not loading in a bunch of users. You're not paying, ideally, you're not paying a bunch of money to do it. You're making shell companies ultimately, but shell companies that they can play with and touch, which is always neat.
Yeah, that's what Kieran was asking too, again. So the idea of a demo client has always been hard for us because it's very generic. So what Ricky just showed is a really good way to like spin up something quick for the person you're about to present to.
Although that's an interesting thought. Kieran's got an idea that I've toyed with that for a long time. And because it was like people asked us for 2 different things for a while. One was, I'm sure you guys have probably seen this, to sell CloudRadial, to talk about it, because your own risk and time is like, you don't want to spend a bunch of time setting up shell companies if you can avoid it. And I've used random companies that like you go to their portal dot whatever, and it's like a straight up sandbox online. Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's like if Kieran
Right.
wants a sandbox and you're just like, you go to whatever, and then every time you refresh the browser, whatever, it resets it. That would be one way. I've talked to Dev about that again, like years ago, and there was something that frankly, either they didn't know how to do it or that couldn't be done for reason X, Y, and Z. But what he just said was actually the other one, with the other option, which was we might be able to do like some kind of a stock thing, that comes with your portal, like a permanent demo fixture.
Yeah,
The
like
issue
it's not real data. It's just
Yeah, but the thing that we struggled with that is that like because CloudRadial's model is that like it's trivial, it's literally nothing as far as like with the courses and KB articles and tickets, like that stuff's easy peasy. The real trouble is like getting Office 365 data or whatever. So like we'd have to like hard code some of it to just look real but be completely fake, which is possible. But like that may be a good idea to do as well. Because right now what I just showed you is the example where we say go in, go create a company, go build some shell stuff. But I also understand that the cool stuff at CloudRadial isn't showing me that I can create a KB article. It's showing me that like your licenses are syncing and then this and then your tickets or whatever, which requires something. But that's good feedback. That's something else that I think we got to noodle on a little bit more.
yeah, and I think Bill asked, yeah, all you have to do is so Bill's asking about the custom URL. That's just that's an enterprise. We provide the ability for you to have that portal.evansbakery.com through our CSA enterprise.
And
So
let's be clear too, because like I want to make sure that everyone knows, because I'm not very good technically. I'm horrible with domains and whatnot. How does that work if you know, Evan? I don't want to put you on the spot. How does that work for like if you don't have access to their website, will that still work? Can you just spin that up? Can we do that for them?
you mean how do they get it? Like how do they
Yeah,
request
because
it?
evansbakery.com, we don't control. That's somebody we're trying to get to work for us. So it's like we're not
So
going to get
yeah,
any
they would have
records or
it would
whatever.
be the same thing we do with their first, you know how they do their free domain?
Mhm.
It would be the same thing they do with that, but when they purchase it, it's not going to, so additional domains aren't going to map to the default domain, they'll have their own. So they basically would just request it normally through support because they've already created their first free domain. Go to the location.
I was going to say I may ask you to help Bill because Bill's got enterprise, so theoretically should be able to do that, right?
Yeah, he should.
All right, well then,
Oh, yeah. So you're not going to be able to do it without communicating with support because we have to provide, we have to validate the record and you then have to add that to the CNAME, so because they own the domain, we have to give them a certificate that allows them to validate to us. Yeah. So just reach out to support and they should be able to handle that. And I believe additional domains are still $10 a month. You may want to verify that too.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Again, that's super good. That type of logic is the kind of stuff again I'm trying to foster here, where it's not just again, it really rubs me the wrong way when I get on these. I've been on unlimited numbers of these software ones where it's like, hey guys, can we just talk about the form? It's like I hate talking about specific features. If I can help it, I like to talk about the bigger picture stuff because it makes me feel more useful. Okay.
Yeah, and Bill had one more thing, I guess. You can add a name to the direct portal. You don't even have to worry about that because we own the directportal.com. So so he's trying, yeah, I think it's because
I
of
don't
the,
mess with domain stuff because I'm proudly ignorant of website management and A records and C records, C
I
name.
had to do all of it for the MSP that I worked for. And then incidentally, I guess I did a lot of it here whenever I was in support.
That's why I brought you here because I knew Bill was going to ask, and I was like, I don't know, and I'm going to look like an idiot. So please,
Yeah,
Evan.
don't send Ricky an email, send me an email.
Yeah, please, Evan at cloudradial.com. You heard it here first. Start bothering him with all the stuff, and he's genuinely very helpful, and he hates it because he knows that he can help people better than I can.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
You know, he's a process guy.
Yeah,
And
that's why I
you
like
couldn't
answering
tell.
questions like that because they got answers. I'm very black and white. I like answering questions.
Yes, you do. That's why you came from an MSP.
But
All right.
also reach out to success at Cloud Radio, and go to our support portal and fill out the support form. I mean, our support team and our account management team are really
Yeah, with the last 5 minutes, that's a good point. I want to bring that over. So we didn't have account management, proper account management for a very long time. And then what happened was we didn't make a big announcement. We didn't make a big stink of it, but like we got proper hired, like we have a straight up account management department, not people that kind of account manage, kind of support, which is what we did when we were smaller. And we have every single customer. You may not even know them yet because they may have not reached out, or maybe they just send you a one-off email a while ago saying like, hey, what's up? But those are real people that are genuinely like there to help you connect with stuff. Because again, like we've seen during this call, like we'll see during the future ones, people have questions and not everybody can get to them. And then you kind of get lost going like, it's not quite support. It may be advice. Like I'm not sure where to go. So your success at cloudradial.com email, if you just start firing stuff off there, you'll quickly find out which account manager you have and they'll start hooking you up. Those are really good dudes. And they're both former MSP account managers. So they're also not just like people who are clueless. They talk the talk, they know PSAs, they know all the tools. We were super particular about who we hired for account management to make sure that we didn't hire people that were like, I don't know, okay, maybe I'll pass whoever, might sound smart. Like we wanted people that were really in the know. But yeah. Welcome. I'm proud of us. I thought this was going to go 30 minutes and I'm going to go, any questions? Everyone's going to go, no, I'm good. So the fact that we're 4 minutes, like, good job, everybody. Good first office hours.
Yeah, we almost got in the weeds, but I don't think we did. I think we just avoided
We're close. We passed the drug test, just barely. Not quite in the weeds.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'll catch you for the next one. I'll share some stuff in app, and I appreciate everybody for the first office hours in a very long time.
Yep. See you guys.
See ya.